everyone, my name is Lisa Elston. I am one of the sublimation specialists here at JDS Industries. Today I'm going to show you how to make templates in CorelDRAW. I'm going to start with just doing a simple template and then we'll move into something a little bit more intermediate, and then we'll get into more of an advanced template where you actually have to draw around a imported image to create the template. So let's get started. I'm going to start with just a blank page. And I'm just going to do a real easy rectangle. For instance, you could use as for a plaque plate or a trophy plate or something like that. So selecting your rectangle tool here off the toolbar, click on it and then click and drag. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to adjust the size. Okay, so once you get it drawn, then go to your pick tool. That's the top one up on the top tool on the side toolbar. Now we're going to adjust the size, and how you do that is up here on your property bar. Whenever you have your object selected, you get all the properties of that object up here. And so these two fields that are next to the X and Y, which is the X and Y is where the object is located on the page, and then next to it you actually have the width and the height of the object itself. So we're going to change that to whatever size we need. So for instance, say let's make this a 6x8 plate. So you're just going to make the width 6, then use your tab key to go down 1 and make that 8, and then just hit enter. Okay, now it's 6 inches by 8 inches. And then if you want to center that on the page, just hit your letter P on your keyboard. P as in Paul. And that'll center it right on the page. Okay, so that's a real easy template. That would be more for if you were doing engraving or something like that. If you're doing sublimation and you want to do a full color image, then you need to be able to take that image outside of the actual plate size. So what we need to do in that case is create a second plate. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this one. So go up to Edit, Copy, and then back up to Edit and Paste, or the shortcuts, Control-C for copy, Control-V for paste. And it's going to paste it right on top of the first one. So now the top one is selected now at this point. So now what we need to do is to make this rectangle just slightly bigger than the original. So let's make it just 1/8 of an inch bigger. So 6.125 by 8.125. And hit enter, and you can see that made it slightly larger. So that way we have two guidelines now. We have the guideline, which shows us the exact size of the plate, which in that guideline you don't want to take any text or foreground images outside of that area. So then we also have the outside line, and what that is, if you have a background or some other, like just a background color or something like that, that you want to fully cover the plate, then you take that outside of the inside lines because you want that to bleed over. That's called a bleed line. And so you take that artwork outside and you fill it, say we want to fill it with red. Okay. And now you can see you can still see the inside line there. And so you still have that guideline for where to place your text and other images within that. Okay. Now before you print, you want to make sure you delete that inside line because you don't want that printing. So let's delete that. Okay, so now when you print, you actually have a little bit of a guide when you're centering your plate on your transfer paper. You have a little bit of a guide that will show you where to center that plate, and so that you will get that full coverage. Okay. Let's do one more. Let's just do a circle. It's very similar. Just take your, select your ellipse tool, which is fancy for circle, and just click and drag, let go, then hit the pick tool, and then size it. Say we're going to do a 5 by 5 inch circle. There you go. That's very simple, really easy to make a template with that. And you can even make ovals, whatever size you need. You just take your ruler and measure the area that you want to create and just create your object. Very easy. Okay, the second template we're going to do is more of an intermediate template. And what this one is going to be is going to resemble one of the bases that we carry that it's not a perfect rectangle, it's more of a polygon shape, which means it's narrower on the top than it is on the bottom. So now this is the way I do it. I will take 3 measurements. I will take the width, the overall width from the bottom, the widest width, and then I measure the height, and then I measure the narrowest width. So for instance, I'm going to draw a rectangle, just like we did in the easier template. Just draw a rectangle, and then put it in the center. Letter P puts it in the center. Now I'm going to adjust this so it's the overall, the widest width and the height. So for instance, we're going to say that this base is 4 inches wide by 2 inches tall. Okay? But on this one, the top is actually going to be 3 inches wide. Okay? So how do we get this rectangle to move over? If you would think you would just be able to grab onto your shape tool here and then grab the node on the corner and move it over. But what that does, because this is not an object, it's actually a rectangle, if you grab that, what it does is it creates the rounded corners, and that's not what we want. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to convert this rectangle into an object. So how you do that is you go up to Object, Convert to Curves, or the shortcut Control Q. Okay, so now when you grab that corner using your shape tool, second tool down, now you get the nodes and you can move them anywhere you want. Okay? But how do you get it so it's the top is the right width? That's a little perplexing, but I have a really easy way to do it. So what I do is I will go here down to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th tool down, which is normally the freehand tool. You just click and hold, then go down to the 2-point line. So we're just going to draw a straight line. So if you hold your shift key down while you click and drag, that will keep the line nice and straight. It won't get all jaggedy on you. Okay, so once you just click and drag that, it doesn't have to be the right width, because we're going to change that. Okay, so let's change that. I said that width of the top of that base is 3 inches. So you just go up to the top up here and change that to 3 and hit enter. Now we want to make sure that that is also centered, because you don't want it getting a little wider on one side than the other. So again, I'm going to put this in the center of the page just so it is, I know it's perfectly lined up with this rectangle. Okay, then what I like to do is change the color of this line just so it differentiates between the two objects. So I'm just going to right click on a swatch and I'm going to make it red. And I'm actually going to make the thickness a little bit more too, just so I have a little more of a guide. And then just using my arrow keys, I'm going to just arrow that up and lay it right on top of the black line. Right there. Okay, now that we've changed this rectangle to an object, we can easily now slide these in to where that red line is, to right in the right spot, so we know it's going to be the right width at the top. And do the same thing on the other side. Just bring it in right to that edge, just like that. And then you can delete that red line. There we have our polygon. Now, if this is for engraving, this is ready to go. That's really all you need to do. But again, if you're doing sublimation, we need to create that bleed edge, because I want to put some color or a background farther beyond the actual size of the plate. So how I do that, You would think you could just do a copy and paste and make it a little bit bigger. Well, let's try that. So let's go to Edit, Copy, and Edit, Paste. And let's make it 4.125 by 2.125. You know, that's not too bad. It is a little bit distorted. You can see it's a little bit skinnier at the bottom than it is at the top. That might work for you, but there is another way you can do it by using your contour effect. And where you find that is you go up to Tools, or I'm sorry, Window, and then Dockers, and then Effects and Contour. And that'll pop out this little panel here. So with this object selected, I go up here and I want the contour to be on the outside, and I'm only going to do one line, so that's the steps. I only want one contour, and then I want it 1/8 of an inch bigger than the original, so it's 0.125. And you can even change the color if you want the outside color to be red or whatever color you want. You can sure change that. So then hit apply, and that automatically makes it the exact right size that I want. Now this is, when you do a contour, you do have to break this apart because it is consider it one piece. So it's a little tricky. So you might have to break the contour apart. And how I did that is I just selected the line that I created, right click on it, and break contour group apart, or Control K. Okay, now it is two separate pieces that I can do whatever I want with. Okay, so that's how you create your intermediate type template. Okay. Okay, the next template I'm going to create is a little more difficult. So what I did, I scanned an image of an ornament, and I used one of the beer stein ornament. It's got a lot of curves and holes in it. So what I'm going to do is I scan that in, and on my scanner I actually have a setting for documents. So that's what I set it at. I did not scan it as a photo. If your scanner has that availability, it's better to do it as a document. That way it will come in at the right size. Sometimes if you scan it as a photo, it will enlarge it or even shrink it down. So you want to make sure it comes into your CorelDRAW as the right size. So that's why I like to do as a document, because then it does it as like a page size. So once you get it scanned and saved wherever you want to save them, I want to import that into Corel. So I'm going to do File, Import. And I have it on my desktop, and I just have it as an ornament. So I'm importing it, and you can see right here it says that it's ornament JPEG width 8.5, height by 11.67, and that's just because my scanner is a little bit bigger than a page size, so it's going to be a little bit bigger, and that's okay because I still know that that's going to come in at the right size, because you can see that little bit is overhanging my page, and that's fine. Okay, so you can see there's kind of a lot going on with this ornament or this image. So now how I create my template is I'm going to use my Bezier tool. Personally, I like the Bezier tool better than the pen tool. I get a little bit more control with my Bezier tool. And this does take some practice, so don't freak out because this looks really hard. It just does take some practice. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start on one of the straight line edges and just click, and then you just go up to the next part and click, and I'm going to zoom in here so you can see what I do with this curve. Now when I get to the next part, I'm going to click and drag, and you can see it's going to create that curve that I need. Okay, and then just keep going along. Whenever you see a curve, you click and drag. And you can zoom in and zoom out as much as you need. And this is going to take a little bit of practice, so don't worry about it too much. If it's not perfect, it'll be close. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, this is just a template. You don't have to get it spot on. So just keep going around. The less nodes you do, the less times you have to click and drag, the smoother your image is going to be. So let's just keep going around. And just drag, click and drag. And just follow the edge of the image. And if you mess up, you can always undo that however many steps you need to go back. Unfortunately, if you stop and then go to your pick tool and then go back to this, you're going to have to weld those pieces together where you started and stopped. So it's better just to complete your whole thing in one shot. Let's move that over. And it does help if you're zoomed in pretty good so you can see your edges. And you can even make the edges that you're drawing a different color if that helps too. Okay, we're getting there. And now this is a bigger, smoother curve so we can make bigger increments. You see that? And you can always go back, and I'll show you how to go back and adjust some of these after we get done. Okay, so now we're onto a straight edge. So just click straight down and then go around to the other side of that curve and drag. There we go. Like that, and then we're right back to where we started, just like that. Okay, so now I want to adjust a little bit over here. So just go to your shape tool now, and you can click on the nodes, and so you get your little handles here. You can make little slight adjustments there if you need to. That's good enough. Okay, so now we've got our outline, but I know I still need to do one for these little cutouts that are in it. So for the circle up on top, that's really easy. You just grab your ellipse tool and just draw a circle. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just get a general idea where that is. And then for the handle here, go back to your Bezier tool and just draw around that one too. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just get the general idea. Just gives you a guideline. There, just like that. It's not perfect, but it'll work. So now you can move your scanned image out, and now we have our template. Okay. Okay, so now I want to let's make this line, let's make this whole thing red. Okay, now I need to make that bleed. So let's select the outermost drawing that we did, and let's make our bleed 0.125 using my contour. And this is where the contour really comes in handy because it's going to follow all of these little lines here. And hit apply, and then let's break that apart. Now for this little handle, we're actually going to have to go to the inside instead of the outside. So again, you change that to the inside and hit apply, and there. Now we have our bleed edge for this ornament. There we go. And the reason we had to go to the inside because that hole is on the inside of the ornament. So we want to pull our color all the way to here instead. And make sure you break that apart as well. There, now we have our pieces that we need. And make sure when you go to print it, you delete anything that's in the red. That's why when you see our templates online, we have the 2 lines for sublimation, we have the actual product dimensions, and then we have our bleed edge. And you always want to delete the red line, which is the actual product dimensions, because that will actually print onto the product or sublimate onto the product. Okay. So that's our creating templates. I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it was very helpful. If you have any questions, you can definitely contact us. Our number is 855-782-4657. That'll get you directly into our sublimation office, where one of our sublimation specialists can help you with graphics or any sublimation questions or whatever you need. We can sure try to help you out. Okay, thanks guys. Bye-bye.